I am a grateful American. I'm grateful for so many things. I've had a lot of bumps along the way, a lot of challenges, a lot of difficult moments, not only in the career life, but at home, in the personal life. The service life has taken over so much of what I'm doing now that I wanted to track that journey and how I got there. And I think it's a good telling of a story of a kid who was really kind of on his own trying to figure things out to somebody who's developed into a full-time advocate for our veterans. I am Gary Sinise. I'm an actor, director, produced movies and television. I'm a co-founder of Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. I'm the founder of the Gary Sinise Foundation, which is a military and first responder service organization. We serve and honor the needs of our veteran community, our active duty, our Gold Star families, our wounded, our first responders. So I've been very, very active with supporting that for many, many years. Founder of the Lieutenant Dan Band, which entertains our troops and first responders and raises awareness and raises spirits on military bases all across the country and overseas. So I've been pretty busy with all that. Story of my family's service in the military, where I'm from, where I came from, where my ancestors came from, my being born on the south side of Chicago, living there for many years, and then moving to the north side, falling into a bit of a troubled situation as a young person, struggling in school academically. This was the late 60s and early 70s, so there's some bad behavior going on then with me, and I discover acting, and I fall into it almost by accident. I was playing music from the time I was in fourth grade all the way up until my early 20s, so I was playing music in high school, had a high school band. I happened to be standing in a hallway with the band members, and the drama teacher walked down the hall, and she looked at me and she told me to come audition for West Side Story because she thought I looked good for a gang member. So I ended up going in and auditioning for the play, and I got in the play, and it turned my whole life in another direction. Completely turned my life around. All of a sudden, this struggling kid academically who was having nothing but trouble, all of a sudden I discovered this whole new world of the theater department in the high school. And it was a great theater department with a great drama teacher. And she cast me in the play. I fell in love with it. Life started to turn around. All I wanted to do was theater from that point on. And then as soon as I got out of high school, I started a theater company with kids. That theater grew into Steppenwolf Theater of Chicago, which is now 45 years old. We own 4 buildings. We built 2 of them from the ground up, renovated the other 2. We're about to break ground on another one. So I look back at that and I go, wow, I wonder how other 18-year-old kids feel when they walk into this building and they see these pictures up on the wall and they see these kids. And this whole big, giant theater institution in Chicago started with just kids with a dream. I move into television and movie business and get some significant parts that changed my life and changed the course of my life yet again. And then there's a significant event of September 11th, 2001, when our country is attacked and our men and women start raising their hand to deploy in reaction to that terrible event. And I just felt compelled and called in a certain way to serve. And so you go from this singular focus on self to this broader focus on serving others. So I come from a family of veterans. My grandfather served in World War I. He was an ambulance driver in France during the Battle of the Argonne, it's one of the most devastating battles our country's ever faced. Over 26,000 Americans killed, many, many more wounded. And then my dad served in the Navy in the early 50s. And then I met and married my wife, Moira. And through her, I met her brothers who both served in Vietnam. One was a combat assault helicopter pilot. Another was a West Point graduate who went as a platoon leader, a lieutenant, to Vietnam, and then came home and then went back again as a captain, a company commander. Came home, taught at West Point as a major, and then he was teaching at Fort Leavenworth as a lieutenant colonel when he was diagnosed with cancer and passed away in 1983. My wife's sister served in the Army. She met a Vietnam veteran who stayed in the Army for 22 years, a combat medic. They had a son who served in Afghanistan, 2 deployments in Afghanistan. A lot of veterans in my family, so all the veteran work kind of begins with the family. Then I started supporting Vietnam veterans in Chicago in the early 80s. Then when I found out I could audition for Forrest Gump to play a Vietnam veteran, a wounded Vietnam veteran, I very much wanted to do that. I jumped at the chance. I got the part. I played Lieutenant Dan. That led me to an association with the Disabled American Veterans Organization, the DAV, that goes back 25 years now to 1994 when I attended their national convention and befriended many, many wounded veterans who had served in various wars going back to World War II. And then after September 11th, when we were attacked and the buildings came down, so many died, so many people raised their hands to serve their country. September 11th was a Tuesday, and then on President Bush declared that Friday was going to be a national day of prayer for the nation. Churches and synagogues, I mean, you name it, everything was packed everywhere. People were pouring into the churches all over the country. And we went to our little church, and there was no room to sit. Everybody was standing. I was standing against the wall with my kids and my wife, and we're standing against a wall, and it's packed. And I remember I needed something that day, and the priest gave me everything I needed that day. And I came out of there with this feeling that I was going to be called to do something to help this situation. And having veterans in my family, having been involved with supporting Vietnam veterans, I knew where I was going to employ my services, and it was going to be to help our men and women get through the next phase of deploying to the war zones and helping them and their families get through that. And that lit a fire under me. I knew that service would help heal that broken heart that I felt. And I got that message from the priest that day somehow. That message came to me. I can't remember everything he said except the first thing he said, which was, "This has been a tough week." And we all just went, we all knew what he was talking about because it was a tough week. And it was a tough time. But the more I got active, the more I gave, the more I healed, And then the more I wanted to do. Having veterans in my family and having been involved with Vietnam veterans and our wounded and everything, when I just felt called to service. And I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know how it was going to evolve. I just knew that I wanted to be a part of supporting the men and women who were reacting to that terrible day. And I just started raising my hand wherever I could to support multiple military charities that were trying to serve the needs of our veterans, our military community, our wounded, our Gold Star families, first responders. Ended up supporting maybe 30 different military and first responder support organizations through this 10, 15, 16-year period, I just kept doing more and more and more, and it all evolved and manifested itself eventually into the creation of my own military veterans first responder support organization, the Gary Sinise Foundation. I remember feeling that service work would be a great healer for the broken heart that I felt for our country and for the people who were deploying in reaction to September 11th and for the September 11th families who lost loved ones. I was just grieving for all of that and needed to apply myself in some way. So I just started reaching out to all these different organizations who were doing multiple, a variety of things. We're going to do a variety of things because I've seen the needs in all these different places, and I want to try to continue to help fill those needs. And now that we're going public as a public charity, a public nonprofit that the American people can support by making their donations, I want them to know that their generosity is going to help a lot of different people in a lot of different situations. We're here to serve and honor the needs of the men and women who serve our country and protect our cities. The Gary Sinise Foundation works to keep our defenders and their families strong each and every day. Join us as we show the pride and gratitude of our nation to all of its heroes. While we can never do enough for our defenders, veterans, first responders, and the loved ones who sacrificed right alongside them, we can always do a little more. To make a donation, visit GarySiniseFoundation.org.